Elise is an incredible solo Q champion, queen of simple tower dives and one-shotting with her cocoon combos. Our Elise player today is actually not a jungle Elise player. Instead, he recently reached master tier with a new Elise Mid playstyle that is like nothing we have seen before. With a few impressive strategies, this player has taken all the strengths of jungle Elise and moved it to a lane where he can carry his solo Q games even harder. Our player's real name is Yousef. They started playing League of Legends in Season 2, right after Elise had been released. He noticed she was one of the most expensive in the shop, so decided to save up and purchase her as his first champion. Back then, Elise was actually not even a jungler, and he played it in top and mid lane most of the time in his normal games. It was going well in normal games, so he took it to ranked. In his first season, he dropped right to bronze. Season 3, he kept playing Elise Mid in top, improving little by little, making his way to silver that season. Season 4, again he kept playing Elise in lane, not listening to any guides or pros that said she had to be a jungle champion. He loved the champion, and wanted to make it work with his old style. That season, after a lot of games, he finally reached gold with Elise Mid. At this point he hit a roadblock on Elise, who was no longer able to make it work, and he found himself getting punished by the strong meta mid laners at the time. This took a toll on him, and he decided he needed to give meta a go, to see how easy it would be to climb with. In Season 5 he swapped to Yasuo, one-trekking to Diamond right away. Clearly Elise was holding him back, so he decided he would keep improving at mid lane, then go back to her, once he was good enough to develop a working strategy. A few more seasons of mid lane came and went, climbing higher and higher in Diamond, but never above. In Season 9 he played hundreds more games of Yasuo, but still could not break through to Master, and began to get bored of the game. To rekindle his love of League, he thought back to his plan, and to Elise Mid, remembering his fond memories. He jumped back on his account, spamming Elise Mid, and instantly shooting up to Diamond. Clearly his mid lane practice had paid off. In Season 10 he got very close to Master many times, but still finished the season in Diamond. With the new item rework, he had a new idea for Elise, and began to play as much as he could at the start of Season 11. Within 2 weeks, he finally pushed into Master with Elise Mid, and is now already on his way to Grandmaster. Finally in Season 11, Yousef has perfected the Elise Mid playstyle at a high level, creating a super fun and versatile mid laner that has not been seen since the early days of League. I'm going to show you how he did it. Let's start with laning. So Elise is a jungler. She has a gank setup, jungle clear, and a tiny bit of mobility. How can any of this work in laning phase, against champions that are built for laning? These strengths of Elise jungle are actually the reason why Yousef is able to have success on Elise Mid. In lane at level 1, Yousef takes Q. Elise's human form Q is amazing for poke damage, and so he begins the lane just spamming it on the enemy laner, beginning to chip away at their health. Against melee laners, Yousef walks up and zones them off the wave with his human form auto attacks, swapping to spider form if they ever walk too close, so he can threaten huge damage. Human form auto plus Q plus auto is a free electrocute proc, already at level 1. At level 2, Yousef takes his W. Spider form, Q and W are literally all the damage you need to win fights with this playstyle, but Yousef keeps poking, swapping to spider form if enemies get too aggressive. Yousef's first OP strategy kicks in, free sustain. Elise benefits from health regen on her spider form auto attacks, which is meant to keep Elise alive in the jungle, but in lane it just gives her a lot of free sustain to get a HP advantage versus the enemy mid laner. You can use this to take more risky trades, or recover from one when it goes badly. At level 3, Yousef takes his E. Every laner knows the power of a ganking level 3 Elise. She is a level 3 jungler, which means she wants to go for kills right at this time. Mid lane Elise is no different. From here, if the enemy mid ever walks too far out of the wave, you can just throw damage at them and look for a kill. You do not even need to land a cocoon to win these trades. Simply swapping to spider form and using Q and W will let you beat any melee laner, and chunk any ranged laner as well. If you're getting confused and stuck in human form in fights, Yousef recommends literally just sitting in spider form for most of the laning phase. You get the healing with the autos, you get more movement speed, and you have an ability to dodge skill shots or start an all-in. Human form Elise is just a setup. Spider form is the real champion, so you should actually be using it more than you think you should. Against scaling mid laners or poke mages, Yousef is smart. He knows he needs to fight early to win this lane. At level 3 he can start looking for all-ins, even just with his spider form. He presses E and repels to them, igniting and pressing Q plus W for damage. If enemies stay in range, they will be autoed to death by the spiders, so they must flash away very early to have a chance at survival, but often you can get a kill and their summoners together. The damage from these abilities is very unexpected because you have a Doran's ring, whereas jungle Elise normally just has her jungle item, so you actually have quite a big power spike early on. From this point on, Yousef goes all in on Elise's biggest strength, the tower dive. Yousef looks to push the wave in and look to dive the enemy mid laner. You may think, I've never played Elise before, and diving 1v1 sounds very risky. It's actually really easy. All Yousef does is push the wave, walk right into the enemy's face, try and land a cocoon if you can, but you don't even need to do that. Then you just throw all of your cooldowns and spider form Q plus W auto for maximum damage, and then use your repel just before the tower shot hits you to drop the aggro and take no damage. Even early game, this is enough damage to kill the enemy laner if you've poked them down a bit beforehand. Otherwise, you can always dive with your jungler for extra safety. Again, Yousef always tries to take tower aggro first, as Elise can drop it so easily. This is not just a one-time dive. Yousef bases, ideally getting Blasting Wand for a huge damage power spike, then goes right back to lane, again pushing the wave and looking to dive the enemy mid. Imagine you are playing a lane, and the enemy team have an Elise jungle who constantly tries to kill you under your tower, wasting all of her time to try and tilt you while snowballing for her team. This is exactly the playstyle we are going for, but instead of having to farm the jungle after each gank, Yousef is meant to constantly be in mid lane, so he doesn't have to wait for gank opportunities. He can push the wave and create them himself, meaning the enemy has no safety, even under their tower. As well as this, the enemy laner has zero ability to roam out of the lane. Elise in Spider form with her W attack speed shreds towers, so if you leave Yousef alone in lane, you will lose a lot of plates and an early mid tower, only making Elise's roams even stronger. Here Yousef has created a win-win situation for his champion. Either he can farm up mid uncontested, as the enemy mid is too scared, which gives him a lead to snowball the game, or the enemy mid has to walk under tower to contest him, where Yousef can just dive, again getting a huge advantage to snowball the game. Or thirdly, he can even roam to his jungler, absolutely guaranteeing enemies will end up typing jungle difference at the end of the game, even if it was Elise doing all of the work. Speaking of roaming, at any point Yousef chooses, he can also decide to leave lane. What if you have a bad jungler who isn't ganking enough? Steal their role and gank lanes yourself. Elise is built for this, so Yousef has no problem at all running to another lane and getting free kills. Same thing for invading. Elise specializes in surprising enemy junglers with a cocoon and then one-shotting them. Now imagine how well this works as an Elise mid, who will often be 1 to 2 levels ahead of a jungler and have more gold. It makes this fake jungle 1v1 matchup very one-sided for Elise. Elise is not balanced around this level lead, so mid Elise gets to one-shotting much sooner than a jungler ever could hope to. It almost feels like you start the game off already fed. Around this point in the game, Yousef's speciality comes online, Everfrost. Cocoon into Everfrost is a guaranteed minimum 3-second CC log, which is always enough time to dump all of your damage in and kill a champion. Once you get this item, you always have a way to capitalize on any opportunity, even ones where just a cocoon would not be enough. Your cocoon ends up being under an 8-second cooldown with this build, and Everfrost is up every 20 seconds. This item also fixes Elise's nightmare situation of missing a cocoon. Normally, missing a cocoon is a death sentence, as you can no longer set up your burst damage. With this build, you can just Everfrost instead. Now enemies have to dodge the double CC in every fight, and most of the time, even in Master, they will not realize you have this item, or they'll forget to double dodge, since the item is still not very commonly built. It even solves some of Elise's issues versus tanks, as a Cocoon plus Everfrost combo extends your CC duration, locking tanks down in front of your team to get a free kill. This build really punishes an enemy overextending, and you can even throw a Cocoon one way, Everfrost the other way, and set up a multi-person stun to start off a fight. Yousef knows that Elise is not a late game scaling champion. Early and mid game are her specialities, and he needs to use this power to get ahead to have the best chance of winning the game. His focus in mid game is using Cocoon to get picks and causing uneven fights. In this fight, he uses Fog of War to find an out of position enemy Vladimir, landing Cocoon and bursting him with his team. He then notices a chance for a 5v4 fight, which he always wants to take. This is a great chance to get super far ahead. He waits for his Cocoon cooldown, then he goes back in, getting pick after pick even under towers. This is the annoying 1-by-1 fight you're aiming to cause, and even if you aren't winning by gold, you will be tilting the enemies who are watching their teammates int 1-by-1. He even takes an early inhibitor in this fight, as he knows he needs to try and end the game as soon as possible before enemies start to match his power. In teamfights, his main goal is to get a Cocoon on any target and focus them down alone or with his team. He prepares by staying with his backline, trying to calculate the best target. If the enemies have a frontline tank, you should go on them first. He has percentage HP damage on the Spider form Q, which deals more damage to low HP targets, so you can shred through tanks. If you're going on a backline squishy enemy, Elise will always one-shot them, often even having too much damage, and only needing her Spider form to execute them. You need to play slow, choose your moment, and then strike an all-in with all of your possible damage. The fun of Elise is that she cannot go in halfway, she can only go in with everything, then escape with repel afterwards. On Elise mid, your late game focus is looking to split push. With all the AP you get, if you ever get to a tower and press Spider form W, you'll burst the tower down instantly. Splitting is also good, as Yousef can look to 1v1 any other enemy. If you're ahead, you can basically 1v1 anyone, you can struggle with bruiser champions if they can survive your burst and then turn the fight afterwards. If you're ahead, you can kill them solo, or you can use Fog of War to make it a 2v1. If Yousef is caught while splitting, he goes for a 1-for-1 trade on the squishiest enemy to give his team a chance at an even fight afterwards. The damage combo at this point is mostly just spider form damage. You don't always have to cocoon first, then use your human damage, then swap the spiders and use their skills. With this build, your damage is ridiculous, and spider Q plus W is the most efficient way to output that damage, as well as it being impossible to outplay. Oh, and if you want to see if this playstyle really works, I'm playing it right now on stream in high elo EU West. Come watch and I'll prove that anyone can climb with these strategies. For his summoner spells, he plays with Flash Ignite every game. This extends his damage and lets him kill very early in the game. Here's his skill order, maxing Q first, W, R, and then E finally. For his build, there are actually two different builds you can try with Elise Mid. The first is the Everfrost build, going for the pick playstyle, all in on the early/mid game, as well as some fun mobility thrown in. Yousef starts Doran's Ring, ideally getting Blasting Wand on your first base. Dark Seal and Boots are a good option if you have to base earlier than that. First item is Everfrost, along with Sorcerer Shoes. After, get Cosmic Drive. This is a great item with lots of ability haste that gives Elise more safety in fights. Third item, Rabadons, and then afterwards get situational items, for example Void Staff versus tanks, or Zhonya's versus high damage enemy teams. The second build is more focused on using auto attacks to shred enemies. This is the Nash's Tooth build, and works amazingly against tanks, as well as for split pushing. Start is exactly the same, boots the same, but instead get Nash's Tooth first item. Second item, Yousef goes straight into Rabadons for maximum damage. Third, you can get Lichbane versus squishy enemies, or Void Staff versus tanks. Then get a mythic all the way at the end to round out the build. For example, Leandri's for more ability haste. Here are the runes he takes every game. Electrocute is great for trading in lane with the auto Q auto combo, and is vital for extending the health at which you can kill people. Transcendence as well gives Elise a lot of extra options in fights, as she has more skills to use to outplay. Don't forget to check out the stream at twitch.tv/happychimenoises, off meta high elo every day from 1 PM GMT. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching.